Part 5 of Plato's Apology runs from margin number 35e to 38c and is about 1100 words long. In it, Socrates does four things. First, he reacts to the guilty verdict the jury has just delivered, noting that the vote was closer than he expected. Second, he gives his proposed sentence, which is actually a reward. Third, he explains why he rejects other penalties, including exile and a life of silence. Lastly, he proposes a realistic sentence, which is a significant fine to be paid by his friends. At the end of this speech, he declares that the unexamined life is not worth living. In the next part of the video, I will give you the text of Part 5 with my notes on the screen. At the end of the video, I will offer some discussion questions. Here we go.
There are many reasons why I am not grieved, O men of Athens, at the vote of condemnation. I expected it, and am only surprised that the votes are so nearly equal, for I had thought that the majority against me would have been far larger. But now, had 30 votes gone over to the other side, I should have been acquitted. And I may say that I have escaped Miletus, and I may say more, for without the assistance of Anytus and Lycon, he would not have had a fifth part of the votes, as the law requires, in which case he would have incurred a fine of 1,000 drachmae, as is evident. And so he proposes death as the penalty. And what shall I propose on my part, O men of Athens? Clearly, that which is my due. And what is that which I ought to pay or to receive? What shall be done to the man who has never had the wit to be idle during his whole life, but has been careless of what the many care about, wealth and family interests and military offices, and speaking in the assembly, and magistracies and plots and parties? Reflecting that I was really too honest a man to follow in this way and live, I did not go where I could do no good to you or to myself, but where I could do the greatest good privately to every one of you. Thither I went and sought to persuade every man among you that he must look to himself and seek virtue and wisdom before he looks to his private interests, and to look to the state before he looks to the interests of the state, and that this should be the order which he observes in all his actions. What shall be done to such a one? Doubtless some good thing, O men of Athens, if he has his reward, and the good should be of a kind suitable to him. What would be a reward suitable to a poor man who is your benefactor, who desires leisure that he may instruct you? There can be no more fitting reward than maintenance in the Prytaneum, O men of Athens, a reward which he deserves far more than the citizen who has won the prize at Olympia in the horse or chariot race, whether the chariots were drawn by 2 horses or by many. For I am in want, and he has enough, and he only gives you the appearance of happiness, and I give you the reality. And if I am to estimate the penalty justly, I say that maintenance in the Prytaneum is the just return. Perhaps you may think that I am braving you in this, as in what I said before about the tears and prayers, but that is not the case. I speak rather because I am convinced that I never intentionally wronged anyone, although I cannot convince you of that, for we have had a short conversation only. But if there were a law at Athens, such as there is in other cities, that a capital cause should not be decided in one day, then I believe that I should have convinced you. But now the time is too short. I cannot in a moment refute great slanders, and as I am convinced that I never wronged another, I will assuredly not wrong myself. I will not say of myself that I deserve any evil, or propose any penalty. Why should I? Because I am afraid of the penalty of death which Miletus proposes? When I do not know whether death is a good or an evil, why should I propose a penalty which would certainly be an evil? Shall I say imprisonment? And why should I live in prison and be the slave of the magistrates of the year, of the 11? Or shall the penalty be a fine and imprisonment until the fine is paid? There is the same objection. I should have to lie in prison, for money I have none, and I cannot pay. And if I say exile, and this may possibly be the penalty which you will affix, I must indeed be blinded by the love of life if I were to consider that when you, who are my own citizens, cannot endure my discourses and words, and have found them so grievous and odious that you would fain have done with them, others are likely to endure me. No, indeed, men of Athens, that is not very likely. And what a life should I lead at my age, wandering from city to city, living in ever-changing exile, and always being driven out? For I am quite sure that into whatever place I go, as here so also there, the young men will come to me, and if I drive them away, their elders will drive me out at their desire, and if I let them come, their fathers and friends will drive me out for their sakes. Someone will say, "Yes, Socrates, but cannot you hold your tongue, and then you may go into a foreign city, and no one will interfere with you?" Now, I have a great difficulty in making you understand my answer to this, for if I tell you that this would be a disobedience to a divine command, and therefore that I cannot hold my tongue, you will not believe that I am serious. And if I say again that the greatest good of man is daily to converse about virtue, and all that concerning which you hear me examining myself and others, and that the life which is unexamined is not worth living, that you are still less likely to believe. And yet what I say is true, although a thing of which it is hard for me to persuade you. Moreover, I am not accustomed to think that I deserve any punishment. Had I money, I might have proposed to give you what I had, and have been none the worse. But you see that I have none, and can only ask you to proportion the fine to my means. However, I think that I could afford a minae, and therefore I propose that penalty. Plato, Crito, Critobulus, and Apollodorus, my friends here, bid me say 30 minae, and they will be the sureties. Well then, say 30 minae. Let that be the penalty, for that they will be ample security to you.
Now, here are my discussion questions for Part 5 of Plato's Apology. First, why would Socrates deliberately outrage the jury by proposing a reward instead of a punishment? Assume he has some purpose other than provoking them, then try to determine what it is. Second, has Socrates convinced you that the greatest good of man is daily to converse about virtue, and that he has lived his life for this purpose? Those are my discussion questions for Part 5 of Plato's Apology. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.